Wow, I just said a whole bunch of stuff and it didn't record. So let's try this again. Today is Sunday, and it is the 14th of September 2025. I am John Anthony Francis Wilcox. My voice is distinctly lower today because I talked so much yesterday. Um, those of you who are observant know that this is a Sunday and not my usual Saturday video, and that's because I was up in Hartford at Retro World Expo at the Connecticut Convention Center where I had been in July for Connecticon. And so this was Retro World Expo, which was primarily video gaming. It had plenty of other stuff, but that was the focus. And I thought I would go in with a list of games that I like, perhaps a little obscure for, Nintendo and things like that. That I thought, oh, I'll go over to the different vendors and I'll ask them, and I'm sure they'll have some of these. I'll have them hold them up, and I'll take a picture of them at their booth holding up these games. No vendor had even one of the games that I had on the list. I guess my tastes are too obscure. When they looked at it and they go, "What? Really? You're a vendor and you don't know this?" Anyway, despite that, I had a great time with my friend Pete and met a lot of fascinating people. The vendors were all uniformly nice. Had some great conversations. Met a lot of artists and artisans. Um, and they were wonderful. Also, I must say, I was very pleased. I talked to a guy named Tim Clark. And like me, you're going, who? And he was there because he created these toys from, I guess they were around the 90s, pardon me, called Boglins, which is just kind of like rearranging the word goblin. I'm not sure what they look like. Sorry about this. I'm very sinusy today. Um, but having a conversation with him, I've discovered that he worked for Frank Oz and for Jim Henson doing the Muppets and working on the film Dark Crystal. And he was a fascinating man that thankfully agreed that in October, when he's done with his round of stuff, we're going to do an interview. So cool on that. And while I was there, also I played two games. They had because everything was you could play anything you wanted for free all day. So I went over to the like the arcade things, and they had this game called Jubeat, Jubeat, where like it puts out a rhythm and lights up these different clear boxes, and you have to hit them in time with the music as you're doing it. And the little I played. The tough thing is, it's meant for someone standing up, and I was of course in a wheelchair, so I can't see it from the same angle as would be advantageous. So I sucked at it, but it was fun. And also, I played an old X-Men pinball machine and sucked at that one because, again, same problem view. But it was, and also my hands weren't reacting because can't feel my fingertips, and I have this Dupuytren's contracture, and so it made working the flippers difficult. Did I score high? Nah. Did I have fun? Definitely. It was a great machine, beautiful machine. I'd love to play that again someday. So it was nice to do that. Took some pictures of. They had some tricked out cars. They had the Ghostbusters car. They had Kit from Knight Rider, that car. They had the Men in Black car, and a couple of others, and I forget what they were for, but they were all really cool. That was the And again, talked to great people. Some people I'd seen before, like the Lame Genie people, who are Lame Genie are a band that play video game music, and I met them several years back, maybe like 7, 8 years ago, and they remembered me, and we had a great conversation. What can I say? So We did that for about, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours, somewhere around that much. And then we went down back to Wallingford to Carini's, where my friend Suzanne and I went after Kineticon. And I had someone, in fact, I brought some home. I had this wonderful football field size meat lovers calzone, and Pete had chicken parm, and he had some sausage with broccoli rabe, and brought a pizza home for my nephew Michael, and all was good. And today I feel like I've been beaten up with hammers, so that's how it goes. You know what I'm saying? But a great time. It was a great day, a much needed day. So, and my voice is lower today because I talked with so many people for so long that it just sort of did a little wear and tear on Mr. Wilcox. So, in fact, these, by the way, I don't know. Let's see which side has the logo. That has the logo. The Lame Genie guys gave me these really sweet sunglasses. I bought a few other things. Was given some stuff. Had some beautiful conversation with people. A couple of young, upcoming wannabe cartoonists, and I gave them some good experiential advice, but they seem to be appreciative of. So that's good. I like to help other people. I'm not at all competitive that way. I had my big time in the sun, as it were, work for Marvel and such, and I still do dribs and drabs. I'll write an Archie story here or there, but I have no problem helping someone else. What's the word? Make it. If it leads to that, at least I hope I help them to have a more self-satisfying time doing what they do and realize the worthwhile nature of their vision. Because it could be very discouraging, and you can see that, you know, when people are at a gaming thing, they're paying a little less attention to the artists there, and so I think they appreciated the attention and the genuine admiration I had for their work. All different kinds of stuff, uh, because it has value. What people do, the things you take for granted, even like someone who made these sunglasses, that's a great thing that they do. You know, here's my little badge by a great artist, comic book guy. Tom Ryan did the art for this. Beautiful job. And for some reason, there is a toy Randy Savage on the back, the Macho Man. Um, it was just so much fun. I delight in these things. I know that they're not for everyone, and that's okay. We all have different tastes, and that's a great thing. So the other thing I wanted to talk about that happened this week is this guy, Charlie Kirk, was killed. And that's tragic, okay? It's very tragic that someone murders someone else. The sad thing about it is Charlie Kirk was a big proponent of hate speech. If you read what he actually said about people, it was horrible. Just horrible, horrible stuff. And when he was shot, it was said that, it was some left liberal, whatever. It was someone even further right than he was that just was, for whatever reason, And the thing one of the things I found sad is, all right, so this guy, this radio and whatever he was, personality was killed. And yes, that's tragic. And people are going out of their way to say very wonderful things about him, despite the fact that what he does is what he did was just horrible, horrible. Um, people I like Michael W. Smith was so giving this praise and this heartfelt stuff, and I thought, in June when I can't think of her name, the senator was killed, her and her husband and her dog, they were all shot dead. None of these people gave that kind of testimony, and no flags were flown at half mast. And by the way, the same day this guy was killed, children were killed at a school, and that was like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And by the way, a bunch of kids were killed. That's okay. And ironically, he was the one that said that in order to have your guns, it's worth losing some lives. And I'd like to pause and think about that for a minute. In order to have guns, it's worth losing some lives, specifically by guns. It's okay, because the guns are more important than human beings. What do I add to that? So that was a significant thing that happened and ate up a lot of the oxygen of this week. Um, and that's all the oxygen I'm going to give it, because there's many fine people in this world. There are many fine things in this world, and I'm more interested in focusing on that, like you fine folks that watch this. So beyond that, my week was a usual work week. I've been plowing through the new remaster of The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway from Genesis that Rhino sent me, and it's sounding good so far. I have one problem with it, and that's something only a fan would know, because they had this 2 CD live version of it as well from back in '75, from that particular date on the tour, I believe. Might have been '74, '75, but I think it was '75. And they said that in between the time they had first put this thing out in an early box set, where what they did is they didn't put the live version of the last song on the Lamb. Instead, they found an alternate take, blended it in, and Peter Gabriel came into the studio and put a new vocal on it. And they said, well, no, in the meantime, we've discovered the actual live recording of that song, good, perfect quality like the rest of it, and that's what's going to be on here. Well, let me tell you, it is not. It is that same version that already was. It all sounds better because it's better sound quality, but they are deceiving people when they say that they found. I mean, maybe they're not deceiving people that they found it, but they didn't use it. Big difference. But it's a beautiful package, and the actual album remaster itself is the one to have, because it's like they did this one right. It's simple, but it's good. Very well done. So, and I highly recommend it. It comes out, I think, on the 26th. Yeah, that sounds right. So, if it floats your boat and it's a thing that you love as I do, I'd say it's worth your time. So working on that, I have an interview coming up with Derek Schulman from Gentle Giant, who has a new book coming out, an autobiography, and I have an interesting tack of things I want to ask him. So looking forward to that. And last week was my friend Rob Generini's birthday, so happy birthday again, Rob. This coming week is my friend Michael Griffith's birthday, so if you see this, Michael, happy birthday. Um, Beyond that, I still have some of that huge meat lovers calzone. I'm going to have the rest of that probably tonight. Um, and the week moves on. I missed my friend Joyce returning my call, but as she will see when she sees this, I was out. So I did not receive your call. I'm sorry. We'll catch up soon, I'm sure. That's it for this week. I love you all. I'll see you on Saturday at the usual back time and back channel. Bye bye.